Hi everyone, it's good to know that so many of you are staying home while we get through this unusual time. So stay strong everyone, stay home, stay well. But if you're hankering after something creative and colourful to do, here's something that you might like to try to pass the time. It's a good old vintage patchwork technique called English paper piecing, and it's often the first thing that comes to mind when people say the word patchwork, and that's because it's been around for a long time. It can be time consuming if you go for the double bed sized quilt option straight away. Yikes, long way to go on that one. But for smaller projects, well, you can make pretty fast progress when you're in lockdown. So how's it done? Well, first you'll need to assemble your kit, and it's very straightforward. You need some scissors, a needle, some pins, some neutral-ish thread, so kind of white, a cream, a grey, some paper, some cake, cup of tea, and some fabric. Now, the fabric doesn't need to be new. Remember, the origins of patchwork are very much in thrift, making do and make do and mend, using up bits of fabric that are still good from another worn out piece or left over from making something else. So origins are that way for patchwork. So if you don't have many scraps, you can be imaginative and look around you to see what's lying about that you might be able to use. Next, you'll need to draw a hexagon template. You can do it like this. Or you can go to your computer and download a printable template. So just do a search for printable hexagon templates for English paper piecing and you'll find plenty of different sizes. If you're planning on a big project, I'd suggest starting with a bigger hexagon template, maybe a 2-inch template, in case we're released back into the world before you've finished. The size given will mean the size of one side of the hexagon. So here's a 2-inch hexagon. Remember, when printing your templates, you'll need to change your printer settings to actual size rather than fit to page so that they come out as expected. And then you're going to need to cut out your hexagons. Let's just start with one for now. So next we're going to take our fabric and our cut hexagon and we're going to pin it onto our fabric. Just pin right through the paper. And then you're going to cut out your fabric with a good 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimetre extra all around the template. That's going to become your seam allowance. You're going to fold it over the paper. So don't be too skimpy or you'll make things a bit more difficult for yourself at the next stage. Then I've tied a knot in the end of my thread. I'm going to fold the fabric over the edge of the paper. I can feel that it's nice and snug on the edge of the paper, and I'm going to start tacking through the paper. Oops, sorry, caught on my scissors. And the folded fabric. When you come to a corner, just going to fold it over. Again, you don't need to distort the paper, just fold over and try and keep that corner nice and crisp. Come and down through. And you go all around the hexagon like this. Oops. I've come unthreaded. That's a hazard of so much hand washing at the moment. Rough hands and they're catching on my thread. So let's go again. Keep going around the paper. Let's get to another corner. Show you a second corner and then we'll speed up so that you don't all fall asleep watching me. Through like that, you can see the neat corners. And then when you come to the last corner or back to wherever you started, just finish off with a back stitch. That's like one stitch over the top of another, just to secure that end. And there we are. You can see it's not quite even, the seam allowance, that's fine, as long as you've got a good 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimetre all the way around. So there's your first hexagon done. You can take the pin out, but you need to leave the paper in for now. There's your first one done. And now all you need to do is make a load more. So once you've had enough of this stage and made a few hexagons, you can start joining them together. So you're going to take 2 of the same size and put them right sides together. Let's go with these 2. Hopefully you'll find that they're the same size. Tie a knot in the end of your thread, and then you're going to push your needle up through the seam allowance and come out right at one of the points, like so. Pull it through. And then you're going to whip stitch tiny little stitches all along this edge. Now you'll be able to feel the paper inside the fabric with the tip of your needle. You don't want to stitch through the paper. You kind of want to stitch just alongside it. It doesn't matter if you nick the edge of the paper, but you don't want to be sewing right through it because it will make the papers hard to pull out at the later stage. So a little whip stitch going all along that edge. When you get across one side and to the corner, you can either finish off at the point with a couple of stitches, one over the top of the other to secure it, or you can think about where you're going to head next, spread those 2 out and choose the next one that's going to go in the gap. Let's go with this one, and I've stitched to here, so I'm going to fold that one onto there, right side together. And then I'll continue stitching along this side so that those 2 will open out like that. Then of course I'll have to go back and sew along here. So we're just going to join hexagons together like this. You can see that you can hardly see the whip stitching on the right side of the fabric. So that's nice and neat. And you just keep going until you've surrounded one of these shapes. And when a shape like this is completely surrounded and joined in, then you can undo the tacking from this one and take the paper out, but it would need to be completely surrounded first. Or you can just leave the papers in, like this piece of patchwork that I've got here. I've left all the papers in on the back because they give it a bit of body and keep it in shape until such time as I've finished it, and then I'll undo the tacking and remove all the papers. So that's it really, English paper piecing. You can do it with other shapes too, squares, diamonds. Look online for inspiration. Just Google English paper piecing quilts and the world of English paper piecing is your oyster.